Hello, this is Chelsea. I am editing right now, and I know that some people sent us their responses for the question that we put up on our story asking about personal style, and yes, our episode this week is about personal style, but we weren't able to gather enough total responses to address everyone's responses to the question. So, for my solo episode, in about 2 weeks, I will be addressing these in a small segment so that your suggestions and your personal styles won't go unnoticed. Okay, thank you.
Starting in quarantine without an end in sight, we're bringing to you advice and good conversation from one teenager to another. This is Sonica and Chelsea with Armbridge, a podcast we hope to be informative and reflective of the everyday world around us. Thank you for joining us today. It is July 23rd.
Yes.
Last week, we talked about dissociating from high school, but ended up just being like a nostalgia episode, which was great. It was fun. And today, we are going to talk about personal style. Ooh. All right, so.
We decided to dress up for this episode, so.
Yes, we did.
Let's go piece by piece on our fits today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You can go first.
We have to be very descriptive because some people are going to be using audio, I guess.
Oh, yeah. We get to be like those fashion YouTubers. Today I am wearing a gingham, loose-fitted blouse. All right, go for it.
Okie dokie. So, today I'm wearing it's just a black shirt. It's a graphic tee from Uniqlo. Hopefully my mic can pick this up because my mouth is so far
I
from
can
it.
hear it.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's
I have this belt that I got for like $3. Oh, it's a full Uniqlo fit. That was not intentional. I have these like...
Look at that. Uniqlo sponsor us,
my
please.
green pants, and some...
The Kim Possible pants?
Some like chains. That may or may not be real, so... Very excited.
We love it. All right, now for me, I don't know if my headphones are gonna like stretch this far. All right, so I am wearing, this is a nuisance. I am wearing just a loose-fitted black t-shirt that says DKNY. It's kind of athletic, not really. It's just loose-fitted, breathable, nice fabric. Usually I live in skinny jeans, but recently I've actually been trying to stray away from that. So these are just black joggers. But they're like nice joggers. They're not like the diaper pants, you know? They're like, if you know what patiala pants are, like the Indian patiala pants, they're kind of like that. They're loose-fitted. Nice. And the shirt's kind of tucked in because I have been indoctrinated by Tan France.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Tan France.
And then on my face and from my neck up, I am also wearing, it went inside the shirt.
Oh.
No, it went backwards. I'm wearing a simple little silver chain with like a little pendant in the middle. There we go. And some earrings that are like dangly and also silver. Yeah, whoever's listening on audio only, I'm so sorry for my lack of description. But that's the vibe. I also have like light, simple e-girl makeup going on.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
that's the situation.
Should we just describe our personal aesthetics as well before we kind of delve into the episode?
Yeah, sure, that works. I think I'm kind of going to be like elaborating more because if you give me any topic, I can go off for 45 minutes about it. But yeah, we could start off with that. All right, so would you like to go first again?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. For me, I guess, I like a lot of layering, so cardigans, solid colors, but especially like unique colors, I guess, because I feel like a lot of people tend to gravitate towards like more black and neutral tones, and I think it's fun to experiment with like different colors.
You're calling me out.
Oh, it's okay though.
No, yeah, it's cool.
Like graphic t-shirts and colored pants specifically. Colored pants are the death of me. So.
Wait, I've noticed that about, yeah, you're right. Because you have like the yellow ones too, right?
Yeah.
They're like a mustard color, but they look really good, y'all. Holy cow, her fashion sense is like insane.
Thank you.
Shall I go?
Yeah.
Okay. As You said, most people tend to gravitate towards black or neutral colors. I'm your girl. I mostly wear, like, either black or white, and then on occasion I'll have, like, pink or beige or whatever. But it's mostly black and white. Like, they're bold, so. In terms of aesthetic, it's, like, the complete opposite to my personality, but I kind of like edgy clothes a little better. Because I gave this reasoning to another, like, friend of mine earlier this week. She was like, how are you the most sunny and emo person at the same time? I was like, see, here's the thing. If my personality is sunny, I'm only 5'2". I'm, like, kind of petite, too. If, like, everything about me is small, and then on top of that, I wore, like, bright, happy, cute clothes, I would be put off by myself, you know? Like, yeah. That's just too much happy going on. So I like my clothes to balance it a little bit, I guess.
The power. Yeah. That's like a power move.
Yeah.
Huge power move.
I give off the wrong impression, and then, like, once people start talking to me, it's the complete opposite. It's great. I love it. And then, since I mostly wear black, like, both for, like, shirts and pants, I think I told you this last week, I focus a little more on, like, silhouette than I do colors, because there's not a whole lot to coordinate in that, what's the word, that department, I guess. Yeah, so that's kind of the vibe I go for in terms of, like, buying stuff for myself. So yeah.
Neat.
Cool beans.
How did we, like, come up on this topic, though? I mean, I know you suggested it, but what was, like, did something happen for you to, like, pick it? I thought it was, like, a very interesting change of pace from what we did last week.
I don't know. I think I've been, like, because of quarantine, I've had plenty of time to do, like, window shopping online. Oh. And so I was like, you know, it would be kind of interesting, because both of us are, like, at least somewhat into, like, style and fashion and stuff like that. So I think you're one of the only friends I have that kind of is interested in that subject as well. No, so yeah, I guess it was just because, like, it's something both of us are at least somewhat interested in, so that would be cool.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, I guess, we're kind of backtracking it again, going back a little bit, but when did you start becoming more invested in, like, fashion, I guess? Because for me it was, like, probably after my freshman year, my sophomore year was when I kind of started taking stuff out of my closet. Was it, like, in high school for you as well, or just, like...
Mine is a little bit more complicated. I don't know, like, I can't think of, like, a defined, like, set year where I really started caring. I mentioned in the last episode that in middle school I was, like, obsessed with Justice and, like, neon clothes, which that kind of started, I mean, I think for me, it was a lot earlier. Like, I think for me, it was once I moved here from Houston, like Houston.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I guess around 7 or 8 years old. But even then, it wasn't, like, full on, like, I care about what I wear, you know? For me, it was more out of pressure because, like, it was just, like, a change in my friend dynamic. So I kind of have a story behind it. I don't know if this is going to take too long, but... Let's roll with it. All right. So my friend group in Houston, I don't know, we were a lot less superficial, I guess, in that, like, no one really cared about clothes or, like, you know, trying to make themselves look good. Not that it was a bad thing at all, but it just wasn't, like, a priority among most of the friends I had back there. And then when I moved here, I remember distinctly I was invited to a birthday party, and we were supposed to dress up. And so my concept of dressing up was pretty simple. I was like, okay, I could wear, like, a cuter looking sweater and jeans, and it should be cool. Like, I still dress pretty casually, right? And then I showed up, and everyone was in dresses, and I was just like, uh-oh. And so I think for me, that, like, regard for what I wore came more out of, like, pressure from my friend group, as weird as it is. But I don't necessarily hate it either, because, I don't know, now it's something I, like, genuinely enjoy, so that's how it started, but
that's interesting.
Now I like dressing up.
What
I
kind
like
of
looking cute, so.
Party was this? It sounds like...
It was just a birthday party, but they had, like, this activity planned out where they would, like, so the girl's dad was like a really good photographer, right? And so he was like, I'll just take like photos of y'all or like little portraits and then send it to your family. It would just be like a cute little birthday activity type of thing, right? And so when I say it like that, it sounds kind of strange, but I promise it was a cute concept, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why.
That's
yeah.
That's just like just imagine like young Sonica going into the birthday party like, oh, okay.
I guess I didn't get the memo.
But yeah, I guess it's kind of the same for me when I was younger, like, or at least I would try to attribute the way I dressed to how everyone else dressed, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like some of the trends in elementary and middle school were just kind of, I don't know, they were not great. But
they weren't. I agree, because I lived in neon clothes for at least 4 years.
There were some choices that were made, and I guess I started to adapt my own style because of what I saw like online. Especially, have you seen those TikToks recently that show like the Chinese like streetwear?
Yes.
Oh my god. That was like what I wanted to do in like.
That's the aspiration. That's the goal.
It just made me, I guess, happy in the morning. You know, you have that part of your life where you're not at school, you're about to leave, and that year was especially stressful. So knowing that I could use what I wore to school as like an outlet for, I guess, my frustrations at the time was a nice feeling. And so,
100%.
From there, I just picked out things that I liked, things that I didn't like, and yeah.
Actually, I think I was gonna ask that question next. I was like, is there like why? For me, it kind of started off the same thing. Like my all black aesthetic kind of started in sophomore year because I was not very happy, but it evolved into something better now. I like black clothes for a different reason, but yeah, no, I was gonna ask basically, is there like even now, it sounds simple, but like, why do you dress up? Like, why do you like putting effort into your outfits and stuff like that? Yeah.
Now, it's just fun. It's something that I can like invest in without having to think too much, because I think I buy things for the purpose of being able to match it with other stuff. And then every day is like, oh, how can I wear this differently?
Yeah, how can I
spice it up?
Yeah.
And it's also fun to I not receive compliments, but I guess like people who are also invested in fashion, it's like, oh, you can exchange different styles, like, where did you get that? This is so cool. And
I wonder where I got this jacket.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of y'all who don't know, I got it from Chelsea.
Selling some stuff.
She was selling some of her old clothes, and this one's big, cute, and it fits my aesthetic, clearly. So, I got it.
Wow, we love this energy. We love this, like, synergy going on right now.
Look at that.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. I guess the reason, like, I dress up is more or less the same thing, right? As you said, yeah, it's, for one, it's fun. Two, also, like, I'm really invested in all those, like, Netflix fashion shows and stuff like that, so I always pick up random cheesy quotes from them and, like, use them to justify myself. But, like, clothes are, like, the first impression someone gets of you. Like, after your face, it's like, what are you wearing? What does that say about you, right? And so I think it's just cool to experiment with them and kind of see, like, what you put across or, like, what vibe you're setting off. Because even for me, like, I have mostly an all-black wardrobe, but I still do have, like, different pieces that don't fit that, right? And so I just think it's cool to see, like, what can I do with this? What does it say about me? What is it, like, what vibe does it give off? I think it's just fun to experiment with that. So I guess, who are, like, some major influences that you have in terms of clothing? Yeah.
Okay, speaking of Netflix fashion shows, excuse me, Minju of Next in Fashion?
Yes! Queen! Oh my god, I love her so much. Holy cow.
I love her. She and
I'm
Angel,
so glad you watched that show too. I've been, like, trying to... Her and Angel were, like, the power duo. Yes. Oh my god. They were... Y'all, if you haven't watched Next in Fashion on Netflix, it is hosted by Tan France and Alexa Chung and Tan France. Please edit out me stumbling because it's embarrassing. But It's such a good show. Oh my god. Basically, it's like a bunch of designers, a bunch of like designers, and they're basically competing on like a fashion show, and they have to make outfits, and it's like a whole bunch of variety. So one day they have to make like dresses, one day they have to use exclusively denim, then there's just like different themes for each episode. It's so much fun. Go watch it. Like, holy cow.
It's just, I don't know, the way she like experimented with form and color.
Yes.
Just,
I still follow her on Instagram. Like, after watching that show, I was just, like, so amazed. Her and Daniel Fletcher, both of them, holy cow. They're so creative.
So
I love them.
And it's like wearing art, I guess. If it's kind of cheesy to say that, but wearing clothes is like wearing art. And everyone has different tastes. And like what you said, it's like the first thing you see when you meet someone. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. What was the question I originally asked? Right, major influences. Right.
Who else? Also, if you guys didn't notice by our last podcast episode post, I'm more opposed to Sonica, who is more of like a K-pop stan. I'm more of like a Korean hip-hop stan, I guess. And a lot of their fashion is so, I don't know, it's just so great, it's so street, it's so nice.
Right.
And it reflects like their individual cultures within hip-hop, so I take a lot of inspiration from there as well, so it's really fun.
Cool. I mean, yeah, I'd be lying if I say none of my fashion influence comes from K-pop as well. Hello. I mean, look at the earrings. These didn't come from nowhere. But yeah, I'd say that's one part. I definitely like looking at some of like the idols or some of the celebrities and just seeing like, okay, what can I afford from this outfit? No, but I mean, like, I think my focus on like silhouettes definitely came from there, because like it just wasn't something I considered beforehand. And that's why when you look at a lot of my old outfits, it's like the colors are matching technically, but something's off. It's because the proportions, the shape, that's not anyway coordinating with each other. So I guess that's one thing. Two, Tan France taught me so much in terms of like what to buy and what not to buy. I learned that cargo is a sin.
Yes.
Camo is a sin. Anything a middle-aged dad would wear is probably a sin. No, but the tucking in, that was 100% Tan France. I was like,
amazing.
If he says it, it's law. It's
learning that
God's
was like
word.
godsend, because at first I used to just like tuck my shirts in all the way, which would be really annoying. Yeah. But the French tuck is elite.
It's revolutionary, you guys. Oh my god. Yeah. I still full tuck sometimes, no shame, but like,
I mean,
it
can
depends.
Mix it up. We have some variety.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the only way to go. Who else? I'm trying to think. There's probably a lot of people. I think part of it is just like what I grew up with as well. Like, I still mostly live in skinny jeans, and that's because I just haven't bothered to go out of that comfort zone.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Really,
and then for jewelry, there's definitely some like Indian influence, because like our jewelry is fancy. So that's the vibe.
In that regard, I guess, do you feel like you dress like the person you want to be?
Whoa, that's kind of deep.
Or are you trying, I mean, in my case, I don't know, like what we said about people that influence us, sometimes I try to be conscious of what I buy, because it's like, wow, it looked cool on this person, or I aspire to look like this sort of aesthetic, so I sort of buy clothes based on that, opposed to like just purely, oh, this is nice, let's just purchase it. And in the long run, what is it going to mean to me and how I perceive my self-image, I guess? Oh yeah, no, I do get that. I guess, like, do you mean like when I buy or like when I shop for clothes, or is it just like just in general? Okay, I think you brought up a valid point. There's a lot of things I see on others and I'm like, wow, that'd be really cool, and then it just doesn't look good on me specifically, which is fine. I mean, not everything's gonna look good on everyone, right? You gotta pick and choose.
So I think, yeah, I do take that into in consideration. Like when I'm shopping for clothes especially, I'll take like a lot of stuff into the fitting room and then I'll be like, okay, this looked better in my head. Let's not. Right?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, a lot of it is like, I have influences, but in the end, does it suit me specifically?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm pretty happy with where I'm at in that sense. Yeah. What about you?
I don't know. Recently, we've probably talked about this probably twice. Who even knows how many times I've talked about this? But the Instagram algorithm has been recommending me like insane. Because first of all, they're spot on to my aesthetic, but they're also like $1 million. So
yeah, oh my god, for real. Do you get like those insanely expensive brands too? And you're like, this is right, but I don't have money.
I think I got an ad for Coach sunglasses the other day.
Holy cow!
I was like, wow, these are really nice. They're so cute, and they were like worth $100. Okay, no, it's fine. It's okay.
For me, the algorithm's a little confused as to what I'm going for.
Oh.
Because as I said, like in terms of like jewelry and like silhouette,
Mm-hmm.
I do sometimes follow like the K-pop like trends in terms of clothing. But then the algorithm takes that in like the cutesy direction. And so I'm constantly getting ads for like super like pastel and like soft and like, you know, fluffy clothes, and I'm like, no, man. But that, and then like once I establish that like I wear slightly edgy clothes, and I emphasize slightly, the algorithm goes full goth. So it's like constantly alternating between like fluffy pastel pink and blue and like actual like hardcore goth clothes.
Oh.
So it's like never quite what I want, but it's like just merge the two.
If we're shifting maybe the topic a bit,
Mm-hmm.
what would you consider your aesthetic? 'Cause I feel like that's different from style in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
It more so takes into account your interests and like
Personality
your
as well.
aura. I don't know.
I totally get that. Okay, well, you go first, because
we've also, there are just so many things that, it's like a trigger word, and I just remember everything we've talked about in DMs. Is it just me? I just like remember things.
Right?
I don't lean towards cottagecore very much. I'm more of a Mediterranean, Italian coast house type of person. So
yes.
I try to think a lot about that, because I feel like it's somewhere I've never been. It's somewhere that I think about a lot, and the color scheme of the area is just so nice. I don't know if that makes sense. I like color schemes a lot, and color schemes that match well together, and I guess if I were to sum up my aesthetic in one thing, it would probably, aside from Mediterranean cottagecore, would probably be Wes Anderson films. His movies specifically focus a lot on symmetry, color palettes, and stuff like that, so yeah, I guess that's kind of my vibe. I don't know if you can put into words what Mediterranean cottagecore means.
Cottagecore looks like.
It's more so.
Hopefully, it provides an adequate imagery.
An actual thing. It's a lifestyle that I dream of.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I don't know. That makes sense.
No, I do get that. For me, I kind of touched on this earlier, but like my like clothing style and my like quote unquote aesthetic are completely in contrast. Like if I were to describe my my vibe, it's very like peaceful, it's very calm. My plant is right here. She's kind of dying, but it's okay. Here we go. So there's that. I've got the candles. I've got another plant over there. I'm super into like spirituality and like yoga and meditation. I don't mean the gentrified like American kind. I mean like legitimate actual meditation and yoga. Don't get me started on that. I could do like a whole episode on that, but more on that later. Anyways, yeah, it's like for me, I guess it'd just be like calm. Like if I were to associate it with a color, I'd say like grass green. You know, like just tranquil, like woodland, forest vibes. Yeah.
Yes.
Like I come across as energetic. I don't know what we could do this as like our next question, but like what do we see each other as?
Oh no.
That's gonna stress me out so much. I'm so worried for your response.
No, you're good. When I first met you, okay, anyway, I'm very introverted, so I feel that most of the friendships I've made were because I was approached by somebody. So looking at it now, I think I have a lot of extroverted friends just because of that sort of dynamic. But for you, I just consider you as my most positive friend.
Aw, thank you.
Because I know that I don't know how we became friends, how that worked, but I feel like
I do remember actually.
You do?
Yeah, remember Raider Camp in 6th grade?
Oh, that. But I mean,
That's
that
where
we didn't
met.
have like
how we became like friends.
We didn't have a bond though. We were just like, hey, what's up? But we never continued
That's true.
that.
And then in 7th grade, suddenly both of us knew like our entire lives.
What class did we even have together in 7th grade? I don't even remember.
Math. We had math.
It was math?
Yeah, it was math.
Wait, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
You just got like a bunch of memories just slapped you in the face.
That class was a whole other. That's like a whole other story.
So wild. I know. Holy cow. Yeah.
I think sometimes it's nice because having extroverted friends means not necessarily that I lean on them too much, but I can rely on them to be positive in return. So that's kind of how. That's kind of how I perceive you as a friend, I guess.
What would you think like my vibe is, I guess? Like I mentioned like green calm, but like obviously not everyone has that perception.
Yellow?
Really? Okay.
Kind of, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's like sunny, I guess, right? Nice. I think for you, I definitely you mentioned that most of your friends are extroverts because like they approach you, right? For me, it's the exact opposite. I'm the token extroverted friend, and I adopt all the introverts. So like a good 95% of my friends are all introverted because, as you said, I'm generally the one to like instigate the conversation and like pry and be really nosy until someone opens up to me. So yeah, I think for you, I definitely saw you as like my most trustworthy friend in 7th grade. Yeah. It's so cringy now, but like I used to be able to tell you a whole lot in middle school.
Oh yeah, they were.
Middle school is like the weird time where everyone's like, oh, she told this, someone like someone, blah, blah, blah. It's just like everyone's so nosy in everyone else's lives. She's so like, you were so like mature.
Oh really?
For a middle schooler, like you didn't get all in like involved in people's business. I remember I really like leaned on you for support because you were like super trustworthy. I could tell you anything, but it also wasn't like me just like dumping everything on you. It was more of like both of us can like tell each other things and rely on each other. Also like you were just really nice. Like I as you said, I don't remember what like the clicking point was for us. Where like we became really good friends, but I do remember we had that like running joke where it's like, yeah, we've totally been best friends since the entirety of 6th grade because like we met each other at like our not freshman orientation, our 6th grade orientation for our middle school, and we just like didn't speak for a year, and then suddenly we were like best friends in 7th grade, and so I don't remember like a definitive point where everything clicked. But no, I remember I could like really trust you, and I was like super grateful to have you as a friend in 7th and 8th grade because I put myself in so much drama. It's so stupid now. I'm making it sound like more emo than it actually is. Yeah. But you kept me grounded, you know? Yeah. As per vibe, I think I could definitely see Mediterranean cottagecore now, but I think like from 7th grade to like 11th or sophomore year or something like that, I associated you with like a gray blue type of color. Like
no, I kind of get that. I kind of get it. Yeah.
Yeah, like what color am I thinking of exactly? I think it's kind of like this one, but like a little bit more gray. If that makes sense. Yeah. I don't really have a rationale for it. There's no like deep, oh, this color means this, but it's just like like you're very calm, you're very like chill.
Oh, thanks.
I completely lack description when I talk.
That's okay.
Yeah, but I see like a gray blue, and it's like a like a
neat.
like a rainy day, but like not a sad rainy day. It's like when it's raining and you're like reading a book.
Oh, thanks.
That's the vibe I get. These wholesome friendship moments.
Wow.
I love this. Wow.
Yeah. There are so many things that have changed about us, but at heart we're really the same.
Yeah, for sure.
We're the same people.
Okay, I was gonna ask, since we're on the topic of middle school, I think I asked this kind of to you last week, but I guess how has your style, like your personal style, evolved since middle school? Because I think that's kind of the place where we at least start considering our clothes, at least for me. So has there been like a definitive evolution in terms of your style?
At the time I had a concept of what matching was, but it was more, these colors go together, I'll just wear these two pieces of clothing. But at the end of the day, you don't wear certain things with certain things because they're just not fire, they're just not like, coordinated. I think from then I've adopted a more flexible style. Like I said at the beginning, purchasing and getting things that you can mix and match with. I've become more fluid, and I think I've sort of adapted my own structuring my outfits, I guess. I've become better at that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I guess in terms of like aesthetic or vibe, did you have like a definitive vibe change throughout those years?
I'm not really sure. I think I just went with whatever I liked, and I was more honest about it. Because sometimes I would go shopping with my mom and whatnot, and we have two very different aesthetics as well. I'd just be like, oh yeah, this is fine, this is like cool. But I think I started to become more adamant about what I wanted to wear, and even trying new things that were sort of out of my comfort zone before. I've sort of shifted towards that.
Nice. Yeah. No, I get the thing about like mom and you having like completely different aesthetics, because for me, she knows what looks good on me, but it's like not my style, you know? So it like looks good and I won't mind wearing it, but it's not what I would buy for myself. So it's interesting in that way. But yeah. For me, I really like putting myself in like boxes in terms of pretty much anything. So I think I had like a definitive like different stages in terms of how it's like progressed for me. For me, as I said, middle school, like from like 4th to 7th grade, I would shop at Justice or try to find things that looked like they were from Justice. Like I lived in neon and glitter, and it was absolutely atrocious. Honestly, I think the reason I wear all black now is because I entirely compensated for it during those 4 years. I was like, this is atrocious. So we're never doing that again. Black. But yeah, so up till like 7th grade, it was all Justice. 8th grade was when I was finally like, that's not cool. I'm cooler than that. And so I started like going to like the fast fashion stores on my own, like, you know, like Charlotte Russe, Forever 21, and stuff like that. But I still had like no sense of what looked good, and I was also very like frugal. I still am, but I was like frugal to a fault when I first started shopping for myself. And so I would literally go to the clearance rack, and as I mentioned last week, pick out the crustiest looking clothes. And for me, it was more or less like the same thing you said, where it's like these colors match, but then like the fit did not look good, or like the length was off, or it's just the proportions weren't right. So whenever it was all put together, yes, theoretically the colors looked fine together, but that's it. That's all. And then in freshman year, it was more or less the same thing. Sophomore year is when I really started caring, like you said. Because things got so much harder, like academically, clothes were like the one thing I could like kind of quickly control and just feel good about myself in. And so that's when I started like the whole all black and white thing. Simply because it was, I don't know, there was this video I watched, there's some like Japanese designer, and he does like kind of like goth or like all black clothes as well. And he was saying, I don't remember his name, nor do I remember exactly what he said, but I really liked the quote, where he was like, black is both the most arrogant and modest color you could wear. And I was like, that's true. Because it's so like simple, but it's also very like, it's a bold color, right? So I really like that. It was just like, this black and white, like that aesthetic was just very easy to coordinate, and it was also like loud without too much effort. And I like simplicity, so it was something I can get on board with. And then in junior year, I was very adamant that I was no longer sad. And so I tried switching back to pastels. But lo and behold, here we are again, because I like the monochrome look. So that's what happened with me. Yeah.
So it looks...
My mom does bug me to get a lot of colors from time to time. She's like, stop, just get something colorful.
Yeah,
I'm
same. But
so it's cool, whatever.
black is just so comforting, though. Such a
right,
comforting,
isn't it?
like, color to wear.
It is. I 100% agree.
And
oh, look, you're wearing black too.
yeah, we are. We really do be. We really
Dang,
do be.
oh my god.
Dough.
Emo.
And
all right, so
it looks like we're getting towards the end. We're going to.
Do we have a song of the week?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Okay, good.
On Deep Questions with Friends, and our song of the week this week is "Go Shopping" by Loopy and PH1. I mentioned it again in our last podcast post. It's I don't relate to it in any way, but I just like that Loopy raps about various luxury brands, and I thought it was a cool approach because the premise of the song is that the girl, the love interest, I guess, is a go-getter type of woman. She's rich, she's successful, she can buy designer. So it's a really catchy song, and for those of you listening on Anchor and YouTube, we will be back after a short break, but for those of you listening anywhere else, we are going to Deep Questions with Friends. Yay.
Hello, what's up? Flawless on my Yagi heels, looking at kills, nigga need Kim, easy, I don't need the pills. Running them BS, living in a cap, the machine rings, and the chain. Here's my queen, baby, hit everything, cop everything. What you need, what you want, babe? It's for you, B, it's for you, though. Let's go shopping. 불러내 선물 여기 heels looking at kills yeah 네가 내 Kim easy I don't need no pills 손에는 VS다 V 눈부신 rings You're my queen baby could everything what you need 여기가 우리의 Soho 진짜 어리든 go-go 우아해는 마치 coco 네 볼에 다 뽀뽀 미친 세상은 loco 위태 딴 애들은 no 어깨 먼지 털어 You say 너는 뭐가 다르지 진짜 가로도 티가 나 You see Take it 올려라 너는 한 폭의 작품이야 너의 친구들은 셈이 많네 Cop this, cop that bag 내가 뭐 때문에 랩을 열심히 하겠어 매일매일 너의 생일을 만들어줄 테니 너는 따라만 와 불러내 선물 여기 heels looking at kills 네가 내 Kim easy I don't need no pills 손에는 VS다 V 눈부신 rings You're my queen baby could everything what you need 여기가 우리의 Soho 진짜 어리든 go-go 우아해는 마치 coco 네 볼에 다 뽀뽀 미친 세상은 loco 위태 딴 애들은 no 어깨 먼지를 털어
Shopping 맘껏 둘러 바난 여기 chillin' on the sofa Free champagne 여기 찍어내서 pouring up 네 맘 가는 대로 골라 I'm a ball hard 뭐든 좋아 너의 몸을 익숙해 더 좋아 뒤로 돌아 맞아 oh wow You go hard it's no lie 내 눈을 다 태워도 좋아 No back dripping wetty 돈은 다시 벌면 되니 작업하고 밤 새워도 좋아 처음 본 style but you killing it You a big no girl I'm feeling it 입어봐 나의 mannequin Shopping도 손 가득해
내 선물 여기 heels looking at kills yeah 네가 내 kimmy I don't need no pills 손에는 VS다V 눈부신 reels You're my queen baby could everything what you need 여기가 우리의 Soho 진짜 어리든 고고 우아해 너 마치 코코 네 볼에 다 뽀뽀 미친 세상은 로꼬 위태 딴 애들은 no no 어깨 먼지를 털어 Louis V, Chanel, Prada, Gucci 다들 다 love it I'm in Reebok 새로 산 babe jacket 또 love it Fendi 다들 수비진 전부터 Nike love it Go yard, go yard, go yard I love it What you want, what you want, what you want, what you want Go baby get it All five Miss all kids 다 love it See me true 비비안의 감성 Saint Laurent I love it True religion split Montclair I love it
Yay! This is my favorite part. Oh,
Yes, the flavor of
we
this
love
segment.
crying about our life. Yes. Okay, so shall I go first?
Yes, you can go.
All right. Okay, first, does evil come from within, and if so, why?
In sophomore year, we wrote an essay about whether or not humans were good or evil. And when I thought about it, my answer was that men are naturally evil because I guess in this case, I'll define evil as doing something wrong. As you grow older, even when you're a kid, when you develop your own opinions, and yeah, really, when you develop your own opinions, you start to question the things that people might tell you, or especially, when you're like 4 years old, you're not questioning authority itself. More so, you don't agree, you're impatient, maybe you're not as mature to think it through. So in that sense, it's in us to commit things that are wrong because we want to challenge something. I guess, and that's sort of where my mind was going with it.
That's interesting. I think, yeah, because there's also tons of like psychological studies supporting that like unless humans get, like a touch or like nurturing, they as messed up as those experiments were, they proved that kids need attention and love and nurturing to become like morally correct human beings. Yeah, there was one specific one I remember, the feral child experiment is what I think it was called. It was really, really unethical. It was terrible, but it proved in essence that like unless we have something to counteract, we are prone to evil. But I think for me personally, I believe that we're just like a blank slate. Like we're not innately anything. It's just a matter of what we're exposed to or what we have a lack of exposure to. So like if we start off if we were put in the world like as a completely blank slate and we just didn't have exposure to anything, like we weren't neglected or cared for, we weren't introduced to good or evil, I think we'd just be completely neutral. Like it's blank, right? And then we do bad things or like we rebel because we see that as an option. Like if, I don't know, either out of our own natural curiosity or like someone shows us that they are rebelling. Like there's a ton of influences around us. I think that we are entirely a blank slate, and whatever good or bad we do is just a culmination of like what we see around us. So yeah.
That's interesting.
Does it come from within? No, I think everything is external.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's not right or wrong, it's just what we think. Once this gets big, people are going to start like arguing with us. I can't wait. We're going to get emails. If you think that everything is an external influence, and explain why my friend over here. It's like, okay.
Wait, but I mean, we'll be good because we're both taking philosophy classes, so.
Yeah, we'll be like, so according to this person.
We actually have some cards, if you will, to play.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's see. acts of kindness have a motive?
I think, yeah. I mean, we're all inherently selfish creatures, right? If we do an act of kindness, it's because when we make another person, because not everyone, but like a lot of people justify acts of kindness with like, sorry, I'm like breathing really hard if you can't tell. Allergies, they're doing great things to me. But a lot of people justify like acts of kindness or like charity and stuff like that. They say they do it because it helps another person feel good or it makes their day. But like, if you really boil it down, why do we care that they're having a better day? It's because it makes us feel good as well. Like, anyone who's like volunteered or done charity work or like even just like complimented someone, they know that after they compliment that person or after they do that volunteering thing or after, they do something nice for someone else, they also feel good. So I think, yeah, I mean, wait, what was the original question?
Do acts of kindness have a motive?
Yeah, I think they have a motive. Even if we say it's just for another person, by doing it for another person, it makes us feel good too. So, that being said, it's not like everyone's mean and selfish. Yeah. It's just, I mean, that's just human nature.
We're just plugging the good place at this point. I realized that halfway through your response.
Oh my god, you're right.
Yeah, I agree with your answer. Even if it's a good intentioned motive, it's still a motive. A motive is a motive. Whether you're doing it for clout, I guess, I don't know. That's pretty terrible if you do it for clout. But out of kindness, it's also a motive. Because some people get self-satisfaction out of helping others, so... Yeah. That's basically the premise of The Good Place. The questions we just asked to each other.
Wow, look at that. Good Place, you should pay us. Everyone we mention on this podcast should pay us, I'm just saying. Tan France, pay up, come on.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Is beauty subjective or objective? Since we're talking about style and fashion.
In mainstream society, I'd say it's... I mean, obviously, there is an aesthetic that people prefer to follow, whether or not they feel that way. I don't know. And sometimes I feel like I have to adhere to a certain standard that's not mine, just because it's so inherently ingrained in society. But to me, I guess, it's sort of, I mean, going back to aesthetics, right? What I find attractive or beautiful or whatnot is subjective to my taste. But at the same time, I feel like there's this internalized need to adhere to that standard, that implied standard.
I think I 100% agree with your answer as well. Because, I mean, yeah, if you talk about, like, what you find, like, attractive or beautiful or, like, even just, like, aesthetically appealing, it differs from, like, person to person. And if you look at, like, subcultures and stuff like that, I mean, that's the whole reason subcultures exist in themselves, right? Like, it's because what some person finds attractive or appealing or aesthetic differs, and if there's commonality, then that creates, like, subculture, quote unquote. But yeah, basically the same thing. It's, yeah, if I have my own standards that, like, I set for myself, but at the same time, especially with beauty standards, there's some things that are so, like, ingrained in us from early on that, like, we have to either filter it out or it's just, like, kind of there in the back of our mind. I guess this is kind of, like, going off on a tangent, but I guess, like, what's one thing, if you don't mind sharing, that, like, beauty standards have convinced you isn't good, or, like, that you have to kind of filter out, like, this created an implicit bias that you've had to overcome? I could go first if you want.
Yeah, I have to think a little bit.
Okay, for me, this one's kind of more relatable to me as a person, but for me, noses is kind of a big one. Yeah, because, like, you know, like, Eurocentric beauty standards and stuff like that, beauty standards kind of say that you should have, like, a small, thin, and, like, curvy nose, right? And it should be, like, cute and petite. And my nose isn't, like, particularly large or, like, deviant from beauty standards, but it's definitely not, like, adhering to it either. Like, if I were to turn to the side, it's kind of curvy. If you look closer, there's, like, it has a very apparent bridge, and it, like, changes its curvature, I guess, about halfway through. And I remember I was like really, really self-conscious about that for quite a while. And even now it's something I have to like remind myself. If I see like a photo of me from like a side profile or something like that, I'll have to be like, Sonika, no, your nose is beautiful, shut up. So that's one I could personally relate to. Oh, I think I will make a PSA real quick. Y'all's big noses are gorgeous. Don't ever feel insecure about them. Just because society tells you that they're not ideal does not mean they're not ideal, because they were made for your face and they make you you, and that is gorgeous and stunning. And I know it sounds cheesy, but believe it.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. In my case, growing up around not really other Filipino people, but when I did grow up around other Filipino people, like going to parties and stuff, I know that I don't look Filipino traditionally. And so sometimes I get conscious of not looking Asian enough, or not having like smaller features, things like that. So, and also even in like elementary school, people would assume like what race I was, things like that. So I wished maybe if I looked more apparently this or that, it would adhere me to my culture. But at the end of the day, it's just how you just learn to, because culture isn't appearance, it's something in your life. Yeah, but that bothered me. I think
It's a lot more than that. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I kind of thought conversely,
okay.
weirdly enough. I know, like, I'm really dragging this on, but I just think it's an interesting topic. For me, it was kind of the opposite, because even me, I have a pretty Indian face, but it's not, like, stereotypically Indian, you know? Like, I've had people guess a number of things other than Indian upon meeting me. But, weirdly enough, don't get me wrong, I'm very proud to be Indian, but, I was kind of happy that I didn't have, like, a stereotypically something face, because I feel like that kind of gives way for, like, profiling, if you know what I mean. Right? Like, if you can't tell what I am off the bat, you have to form your own opinions based on, like, how I present myself to you. Versus, like, if I were to have, like, a stereotypically Indian face, or if I were to, I don't know, just, like, stereotypically anything, right? You have certain, like, preconceived notions about a group of people. And when you see someone that looks like them, you kind of just associate those same attributes to that person, right? So, I don't know, I just think it's interesting, because you mentioned, like, not looking stereotypically something. But, for me, I feel like it's more of a blessing. Like, my culture comes second to my personality.
Is having a big ego a negative trait or a positive trait?
Oh, I question this a lot, because you see a lot of, like, world leaders or people in power, and their ego is, like, the size of the sun. And it's just, like, should I be egotistic? Like, if y'all are that successful and that, like, you know, proud of yourselves, should I be more confident? But I kind of concluded, at least for myself, it's a balance. Like, you shouldn't be completely unconfident in yourself and unhappy with who you are. Like, you should at the very least be self-aware of, like, okay, this is a flaw of mine, now it's up to me if I want to change this, or if I'm okay with this, or, like, whatever, right? So I think ego is okay, but to an extent. Like, you should, you know, self-love is still ego, but it's not saying that you should be arrogant. You should just be accepting of who you are. And I think to that extent, ego is fine. Like, you should be relatively happy with who you are, and you should, you know, embrace yourself, like, whoever you are. But if you're, like, super conceited and, like, showing down people, and you're like, I'm the best and nobody's, like, at my level, or even just, like, subtly kind of implying that you're better, that's gross. Don't do that. So it's just, I mean, for me, it's just a matter of, again, I talk about gut feeling a lot, but, like, in my gut, if I'm happy with how I'm presenting myself, or, like, how much I want to express my love for myself, then we're cool.
Where it crosses the line is when you don't
Exactly.
take into account other people's opinions, and other people's, I guess, perspectives.
Yes.
I think something that people have issues with, especially when it comes to ego, is sort of not conceding to an argument. That's not to say this doesn't apply to social justice and obviously things that are universally needed in society, but more so just petty things
Just
that
basic
you don't
morality,
need to
yeah.
argue over. Because there's pride too in ego,
Mm-hmm.
but there's an amount that once you overstep it, it becomes sort of imposing. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's our last question, everyone. So, since our
All right, y'all.
since our outro script is outdated, I'm just gonna freestyle it. So,
Yeah, go for it. Let's do this.
thank you everyone
Freestyle.
for tuning in today to us talking about personal style and also going on a very big tangent in which we reveal things about ourselves that we kind of regret. And as usual, we have concluded our deep question segment with questions from allocation. So we hope that you guys will join us again next Tuesday for more overall shenanigans. So this has been Armbridge Podcast. Yay. Goodbye.